Hi there, welcome to the next exciting episode of Corner Talk. Today, what are we reviewing?
Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Exciting. Alright, awesome. So, obviously, this is kind of a simple video.
Yeah.
People probably expect it now that The Last Jedi is about 2 weeks away.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were hoping to kind of do a review on this movie. Obviously, the Star Wars franchise. It's huge. It's got so many movies to come. There's just a lot to look forward to. And we were excited for the new one. And so we just felt like this would be a good time to talk about The Force Awakens. Before we get into the quick overview about the movie, it's again, blanket spoiler warning. If you haven't seen this movie, you obviously live under a rock. I don't know what to tell you. Are you Patrick? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But you should have already seen this movie 2 years ago in theaters, and you probably did with the numbers that it said.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's go over the basic summary of this movie.
So, this movie takes place a good few years after Episode 6. We start off, actually, on, I want to say...
I'm not exactly sure the planet, but we're on one of these new starships.
Yeah.
And it kind of opens up. They're trying to find the map because they're trying to find Luke Skywalker. He's the last Jedi that is known to exist. They're trying to hunt him down. They're literally just missing a tiny fragment. And so they send Kylo and his crew to try to get this map. And obviously, they get Poe Dameron, but they don't get the map because BB-8 has it. He runs away. And then from there, that's when we start meeting our new cast members, like Finn, Rey. So they come together and they meet on this new planet, Jakku, obviously. It looks a lot like Tatooine.
Yeah.
And that's, the beginning of the things that we'll talk about later. Is so a lot of the similarities and similar environments and scenes that we see in this movie that we've seen in the original trilogy. But from there, they start encountering, the old characters like Han Solo and Chewie. Because they have this part of the map. They need to get it to the Rebellion, or is that what they're calling this one?
Yes.
They're still the Rebellion? Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. Okay. So they're going to take it to the Rebellion to get it to General Organa because they need to find Luke. He is basically, they're trying to make him like he's their savior again. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, from there we know things get mixed up. They're on the planet with Maz Kanata and her little canteen. And what happens? So obviously the First Order shows up with Kylo Ren. They start blowing everything to hell. And Rey gets captured.
Yeah.
And so what happens from there?
Once Rey gets captured, Han and Finn meet up with General Leia. And they come up with this plan to not only save Rey, but to lower the shields on the Starkiller base and basically do what they did with the last two Death Stars and just blow it the hell up.
Yeah, basically. And, I mean, even Han Solo said it best. When people were like, how are we going to destroy this? He's like, so it's bigger. What's the big deal here? We've done it twice before. We can do it again.
Pretty much.
And so, obviously, they do it again. They take it down. They do their best to destroy it. We have the final ensuing battle between Kylo and Rey and between the Resistance and the First Order. And then our movie ends with Rey finding Luke.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've kind of done the summary, let's go over some of these new characters. Obviously, first and foremost is Rey.
So, Rey is probably one of the strongest new characters in this entire cast. She is the first female character to take a lead role in a space opera like this, as far as I'm aware. The only other one I can think of being Sigourney Weaver in Aliens, but that's a very different kind of movie, though.
You could argue that technically, Leia in the original trilogy,
but she wasn't the main focus.
She is not the main focus. I mean, she kind of is in the first one.
Not really.
The first half of the movie is we have to save the princess.
First, exactly. But she wasn't the hero. She wasn't doing anything.
True. So I do agree that Rey is a big contender in this movie. She's the focus. Let's talk about Finn. What do you think of him, John Boyega?
So Finn, I was not sure if I was going to like when I first saw him. He seemed like a very cowardly character. Not sure what he wanted to do. All he knew that he wanted to do was run as far as he could from the First Order. And that was pretty much his whole character. For the most part, as the movie goes on, he shows a little bit more bravery, a little bit more tenacity and cunning.
I think Finn is great. I enjoyed his presence. He brought something new, I feel, with coming from that side over to the good side right in the very beginning. Instead of always starting good, fighting bad. Oh, Father, come to the good side. I know there's good in you. No, he figured it out on his own.
Yeah.
He went to his first battle with Kylo and the other guys, and he saw the death and the destruction, and he's like, I have to get out of here. This is not me. We also need to talk about Poe Dameron. I think he's going to be a big factor, too, especially in the 8th movie.
Poe Dameron was basically the energy of the movie. Very energetic, very lively. Also, kind of the comedic relief for the most part. I very much enjoy his character. Oscar Isaacs did a great job playing him.
That's the interesting thing too with Oscar is that like obviously he really wanted this role.
Yeah.
He obviously you could tell by the energy he put into it that he wanted this and he got it. Funny thing is, I'm pretty sure they told him he got the part 2 hours before the first script reading. So he had to get there and hightail it there. Whatever he was doing, he dropped and he left. He was like, I gotta go.
Dang.
If you took Rey, Finn, and Poe Dameron, they are each one separate part of Luke from the original trilogy. Luke was known as a great pilot, just like his father before him.
Okay.
That's where we get Poe. He's the pilot.
Yeah.
Then you have Rey, the natural Force user, which was Luke. He just had a good connection with the Force. Obviously, he's the son of Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. Now, Finn is also in the same situation with like Rey and Poe being part of like the original character of Luke, because Finn has a good sense of right and wrong. He's fighting to leave, the resistance, or not resistance, but the First Order. He doesn't want to be there. He thinks what they're doing is wrong. He wants to get away. And we kind of see that resistance against his aunt and uncle. Yeah. I know that's such a weird comparison, but obviously they kept telling him next time you'll get to leave. And when he finally got the opportunity, honestly, he may be back for a second.
Yeah.
But then he jumped on it, and that's exactly what Finn did. He got the opportunity, he was gone. So that's why I say that they're the three main characters of this one, the three newest characters, are the same person. You put them all together, they make Luke from the original movie.
Okay.
I think obviously the last big new character to mention is Kylo Ren.
So Kylo Ren. I say this every time I talk about Kylo, but Kylo Ren is basically Anakin Skywalker done right. He is just as moody, just as angry, and just as arrogant as Anakin is in the prequel trilogies, but a lot better. From what I'm hearing so far of the story, he was actually seduced to the dark side by its power and not by a way to save someone like how Anakin was supposed to go.
Well, we don't know exactly. All we were told is that you're right, Snoke seduced him. Yeah. But we don't know what the reasons were. Now, I agree that he is Anakin done right, because when you see his burst of emotion, because he still is a younger person, not just because of the actor, but the character itself, he can't be no more than 25.
Yeah.
I would say. And even somebody at the age of 25 still has emotions that they still have to learn to control. And obviously the Sith embraces passion, emotion, and to use that to fuel your power. But the fact that when something went wrong and he just burst into rage, and he pulls out his Satan saber and just slices up the computers, doing crazy things, destroying the chair that Rey was in when she escaped. Those were genuine emotional moments, because that's exactly what he would do. Somebody at that age, that's trying to embrace as much of the dark side, because that's what he wants. Obviously, he doesn't want the light; he wants the dark. And his power, I know Rey outpowers him by the end of the movie, but the fact that she's able to do that is amazing, because of the way they already demonstrated his power. Yeah. In the very first scene, Poe gets up behind him, tries to shoot, and in one go stops the beam and Poe in one go. And just leaves the shot there while he's interrogating Poe. Who does that? That was awesome. With this being Star Wars, we have to talk about the old characters. Luke, Han, and Leia.
All right. So
and obviously, we should start with Han Solo.
Han Solo is basically Han Solo. He didn't change much from the last 3 movies. He was still pretty much his character. He was a bit old, well, a lot more older, a lot more crotchety. Gone his own separate ways from Luke and Leia. Went back to smuggling, but still very much kind of like that badass, adventurous kind of guy.
My interesting thing is, and I don't know what it's been, but obviously, Harrison Ford's been in plenty of movies over the years, but it almost felt like he was phoning in those performances. He was doing them, he wanted to, but there just wasn't the emotion and passion. But then he got to be Han again, and obviously we all know that during the 6th movie he was petitioning that Han should have died and things like that. But there was just something different about him when he got to be Han again. It was like we got the old Harrison Ford back, and he was just doing it, and he was loving it. And he got to put it all out on the table, obviously, as we know, because he does die by the end of the movie. Yeah. By the hands of Kylo.
That's why he was mostly excited, though.
Which I think was a good fitting end. I like this better than if they had killed him off in the 6th one. Yeah, so the next one is Leia.
Leia, again, it was fun to see her. Yeah. She was on screen for, I think, a grand total of 10 minutes.
If that.
Filled her role, gave a mission. Yep. And that was basically it. It was fun seeing her interact with Han again. Don't get me wrong. That was still fun. It brought back the childhood. But
that was probably her best scene. She didn't have to say much. Yeah. But that moment of Leia and Han seeing each other again in the first time in such a long time, because we don't know when he dipped out. Obviously, it was after Kylo either went to go train with Luke or when he got seduced to the dark side. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And that moment was perfect up until C-3PO. I understand that they are the only Star Wars characters that have been in every single Star Wars movie. C-3PO and R2-D2. But no. Obviously, the last one we should talk about is Luke.
Luke stands there and holds his hand out.
Let's talk about the positives of this movie.
So, positives. Big one right from the start. They went back to practical effects, and you can tell it right from the start. Oh my god, I loved it. Practical effects, shot on location. They basically built an entire life-size model of the Millennium Falcon for these characters to move around and act in.
Yeah. And which is great. And I agree that there was way more practical effect, but I think people do dog the prequels a little bit too much. I think when you actually go back and take out all the bad things and just try to watch, obviously you're right. There's so much CGI in those movies. It's oversaturated.
It's terrible.
But there are a couple good practical effects. Even in the opening scene of The Phantom Menace, the ship that they arrive in, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, it is a miniature that blows up. It's a practical effect.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite effects of the entire prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
The lightsaber battles go back to having meaning, and they're not jammed every which way into every orifice of the Star Wars show.
Well, so when you look at, let's take the choreography of the prequel battles versus this one that we got between Rey and Finn.
Yeah.
Which one do you think took longer to coordinate and get practice and get down for the shots?
The prequel battles.
Wrong. From what I heard and what I read is that if it took just as much time, if not almost a little bit longer, to choreograph these fights. But you would think with all the crazy moves and the jumping and things like that you're right, that one would take longer. This one kind of quick stops and then running through the battle. But I think this one did take longer, which is why I think that emotion gets there. My favorite moment is Kylo taking down Finn. Because obviously, he's just playing with them. Oh, yeah. And then when he gets a good jab on him, he's like, nope. And he just disarms him and takes him out.
Yeah.
And he goes for the lightsaber, and then Rey pulls it. And you just hear Luke's theme just swell in the background.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very emotional, and it's great. So, other positives besides just the lightsaber battles and practical effects. Obviously, I think the humor in this movie was very good. It was on point. Going back and still watching it, I still laugh every time I watch it. They just did such a good job, like you said, of bringing it back to formula. Yeah. That it is hard to kind of pick out bad things.
All right. So what are your negatives?
Okay. So my biggest negative, and this is the same negative that everybody's going to say, but I do think it needs to be taken into consideration, is how much they pulled from the original trilogy, not just A New Hope, but the trilogy. Major beats that were essential in the original trilogy, they pulled and used. You're talking about like her discovering her powers, an old mentor dying in front of you and screaming. You know, you're screaming because they died. And it's just the fact that because they pulled so many beats and it felt so familiar, which is why I think it did so well, it just brings all that nostalgia back. And it's just like, oh, remember Star Wars doing this? Remember they did that? All right, so my other negative, Phasma. What the hell happened?
Oh, yeah.
Like, seriously, what the hell happened? You talking about, you take that actress from Game of Thrones that had power, that was confident, and you put her in a major leadership role in the First Order. She is commanding those troopers. And she does nothing this whole movie.
Yeah.
She sits there and gets thrown in a trash compactor for a nostalgia joke.
They got a pretty more than decent actor to play Phasma. They could have done a lot with that role in this movie, and they chose to brush it aside. Now, I understand why they chose to brush her aside, so they could flesh out these new main characters. But still, she could have done more. She could have...
But what if she was one of those new main characters that got fleshed out just a little bit more and made a better impact on this movie? I understand
she could have been a character on the dark side, which is something we've never had before.
Yeah.
That's been more fleshed out. Someone other than Kylo Ren or Darth Vader. She could have been... And I know they tried to make Hux this, but she could have been like another... She could have been like a more fleshed out version of Grand Moff Tarkin.
Well, if they were doing that, then honestly, they would have given it to Hux.
That's what I'm saying. But Hux was nothing like Grand Moff Tarkin, so I wouldn't even say that they were trying to do it. While with Phasma, she had more of that calm demeanor, that kind of charisma that Grand Moff Tarkin had. And that's why I say you could have given that role to her and have that been a bit more fleshed out.
True. I'm going to go for a bold question here.
Okay.
And I want an honest answer.
Honest answer?
If the previous Star Wars movies, prequels, old trilogy, Rogue One, any of them, if none of these movies existed, would this still be a good movie? Would it have been a sought-out movie that broke all those records? And could it stand on its own?
So, would it be a good movie? Would it stand on its own? Definitely. It pulls a lot from the past, but it doesn't rely on those pulls to keep you invested. A lot of the story focuses on Rey and Finn, the two characters that you want to know about most. You didn't have to know what happened in the past Star Wars movies to kind of get to jump into this one. It stands on its own, and it's still a really good movie. Would it have broken the records? And would it have been sought out? I don't think so. This movie does nothing to kind of push the envelope CGI-wise that the original Star Wars did. That's what it got Star Wars its big acclaim, is that it was such a boost in visual effects for movies. This one kind of is, but I would argue that Blade Runner did more to push the envelope visually than this movie.
The original or the new one?
The new one. It's still a good standalone movie. It would make money. It wouldn't break box off. It wouldn't break the box office records if it had been that Star Wars brand from the past.
It wouldn't have shut down the internet when the ticket sales first came out.
No, I don't think so.
I do think it still would have been a good movie. That people that didn't see it in theaters, eventually the word of mouth would get around. People would watch it and they would have a good time. Could it stand on its own? I think it's kind of the middle ground. Not because of all the nostalgia, but because of all the era of mystery that's going on. Because obviously most of us know about the Force and Anakin and Darth Vader and these things like that. But then we start seeing that, oh wait, these characters have had long-time relationships. This was their kid that turned from good to dark. And he's worshiping his grandfather that obviously is a dark character. But who's this dark character?
As far as the Force thing goes, we don't get a lot of the makings of the Force in this movie. I think you get an equal amount of Force doings in this movie as you do in Episode 4. It's not really explained, it's not focused on, but it is there.
And the interesting thing too is when you take out everything from the other movies, like you were just saying, that they don't always talk about that, oh, this is the light side or the good side, or oh, this is the dark side as much. I think it's a little bit more just they expect the audience to know the information, so they don't use it. They don't straight up say, oh, this is bad or blah, or this is good and okay, which could play into effect later on in the Last Jedi movie. That the lines may become blurred. We've already seen from interviews with Daisy Ridley and who's playing Snoke? I can't remember.
Andy Serkis.
Okay, so that from interviews with Daisy Ridley and Andy Serkis, Rey and Snoke. That's one. Snoke's not a Sith Lord.
Yeah,
he's not a Sith. And Daisy Ridley talks about how Rey is looking for answers. She's looking for her place, and that the answers she finds may not be either good or bad, like light or dark.
Yeah.
Like back to my question. First one, would it be good? Yes. Obviously, on multiple views, you could probably piece it together on your own. It does a good job of that, even if you had never seen any of the other Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Would it make the money? No. It would not have made the money it made, obviously, because people would never have heard of it. And in a world where we're all about sequelization, nobody would go see an original IP.
Well, people would go see it. I feel it would have been a cult classic in today's movie-going.
And then, but then my last part of the question is, like, would it be able to stand on its own? Probably.
I say yes.
I think it's a little bit more closer to the 50-50, but I think over time, as they be coming out with the new movies, not including the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, but just episodes 7, 8, and 9, that it would find its way to stand on its own over time.
Yeah.
All right, but to kind of close this up, what do you rate this movie?
That's a tough one. I like Star Wars a lot. I want to give it a high rating. It does a lot right, but it does just enough wrong that I have to deduct a good bit of points. I don't know. Much as I hate to do it, I gotta give it a 7.
Okay. I guess for me, looking at all the things about this movie, all the things they did good, like how did I feel when I first saw it? How did I feel when I saw it a second time, a third, a fifth, fourth, whatever, the 100th time I've seen this movie? And I feel like even if I pull out like any previous like thoughts, like information from the original trilogy, prequel, Rogue One, obviously Rogue One wasn't out then.
Yeah.
But just as a movie, I actually would probably give it an 8.
Okay.
I think if you take out the nostalgia, I feel like kind of and like all the similar story beats from the first one and the other trilogy movies or the original trilogy, you kind of deduct a point. You lose another point because of misuse of certain characters that maybe play a bigger role later on, and maybe some miscues here and there. But overall, every time I watch it, it's good. It's entertaining. Scores are still great, and so I think it actually sits at an 8.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's going to be the end of this movie. Our video next week is also going to be a surprise video.
Okay.
That, guess what? You're not going to expect coming. And so I hope you're ready, and we hope you enjoyed this video. Y'all have a great day. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this video here in Corner Talk.
If you liked what you saw, please comment, like, and subscribe down below.
And don't forget to ring that bell so you know when we have the next video up.
Until then,
we would like to see you in the next corner. Have a great day, guys.
Goodbye.